All right. A little late stream here, but we'll keep it short. If anybody shows up, I didn't really announce I was going to do one, but we'll see who can come hang out, if anybody. But I hope everybody's having a good morning. Just enjoyed my pretentious little. Hey, good morning, Uncensored Christian. Glad to see you. Enjoyed my little. What would this be called? My pretentious European coffee cup here. Oh my. Well, good morning to you guys and girls and who knows what that are here. Teddy? Teddy? Yeah, no. That's Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Hey, Debbie. Good to see you. Yeah, that was the author of the Sherlock Holmes novels. I don't know where my mom got that cup some time ago. I remember that being around even when I was a kid. They're really good at hanging on to stuff. Hey, Killswitch, good morning. Good to see you. Yeah, I wanted to get a stream in, and I figured if I stayed close to the house, that'd be a lot easier than it was yesterday. Those of you that weren't able to tune in yesterday, um, I tried streaming, taking one of our dogs for a walk, and that was a bust really quickly because Texas cell service is a bust. At least when you're deep within the neighborhoods. Um, and it could be that I'm a Sprint guy as opposed to Verizon. Maybe Verizon's bigger down here. But I do like that unlimited data. I'm a big fan. Oh, that's good. Bears saying hi to bears. That's the way it should be. Well, I had an interesting night last night. I went out to a movie with my dad and brother and the kids and my wife. We went and saw Incredibles 2 yesterday afternoon. Um, and my brother picked up a few boxes of the popcorn there at the theater. So we were all sharing popcorn between us. Um, and it was a good time. That was a really funny movie. Um, a little bordering on male bashing at times, but it did have one of my favorite drummers playing in there. I believe it was Peter Erskine because I think they've got him on almost all the Pixar films now. I could be wrong about that, but it certainly sounded like his style. I'd have to look that up and double check that. Um, but yeah, fun times. I've actually never seen Incredibles 1 all the way through. I've heard it from the front of the car when my kids were younger, and we had a minivan that had a DVD player in it. My ex wife would put that on quite a bit when um, when we were going places. But yeah, never actually saw it. Um, just watching it. So I'll have to do that at some point. It'd be interesting. But seeing two in the theater, that was pretty intense. I think it's like maybe the second time that my kids have gone to an actual movie theater to see a film. That maybe the third. At any rate, so we did that. We came home. We had fajitas for dinner that my mom had made, beef fajitas um, with some different. I'm trying to think. Vegetables and other things mixed in, and had a little bit of just a little bit of wine with the dinner. Um, and it was a pretty intense wine. I don't think I was as accustomed to it. My mom keeps a variety of different types handy, and it was a little stronger, a little drier than I was accustomed to. But those three things: movie popcorn, wine, and fajitas didn't mix well, and I was particularly sick later that night. I could feel a. I usually get a bad headache before I get sick. Um, oh, that's so awesome, Killswitch. Killswitch says she is rereading the Bible and can't believe how different it is now. It is a massively different experience, especially if you start. I'm gonna address that for a moment. Especially if you start from the beginning. Hey, Trevor. Good morning, sir. Good to see you. Yeah, if you're rereading the Bible and you do it at different times in your life, um, wherever you start from, especially if you go from the beginning, you're gonna be able to intake a lot more detail of what was going on. And there was some rough stuff throughout the Old Testament that goes on. There's some rough stuff in the New Testament that's talked about. But a lot of life is rough. Good morning, Steve. Hey, all these bears are rolling in here. You may have missed it, but I was just talking about some of yesterday evening, and I might recap just briefly on that. But yeah, Killswitch was just saying that she is now rereading the Bible, and it's a whole new experience from when she did it in previous time, and that's really cool. I find that myself. The older I've gotten, as I go back and reread different portions, that's such a phenomenal thing because it's always fresh. There are always things that I didn't see before. I was telling my kids, ooh, I don't know what that was about. Ooh, sliding forward on this seat. Um, I was telling my kids I used to watch old bits of Monty Python's Flying Circus or the Monty Python and the Holy Grail films when I was younger. I was introduced to it. I was about their age, and there are bits of that are um, pretty funny, pretty satirical of British culture and British history. Um, but when I watched that as a kid, I only got a portion of the humor. As I got older, it got a lot more deep for me. There were lots of other little subtleties in the humor that I didn't get at first. I saw Mama Bear in there. That's super cool. Man, we're getting all kinds of fun folks joining us today. Um, yeah. So I think that principle of seeing only so much at a certain point in your life, and then seeing more because experience has increased. Um, that definitely makes anything that you dig into a new experience when you come down the road again. I enjoy watching certain movies or TV shows over again at different times because I'll notice different stuff about them. Like some people say, I don't want to watch the same movie twice, and I understand that, but I get something out of it. I notice different things that I didn't notice before, and it just makes it more fresh to me. What was it? The movie M Night Shyamalan film, because I know a lot of people are not M Night Shyamalan film fans, but The Village was one of those, and it wasn't. I'm not saying it's like the greatest cinematography of all time, but even though I'm not going to spoiler it if you haven't seen it, but even though like the premise of the film is pretty clearly laid out once you've seen it once, like you can't get shocked by it again a second time, it's still fun for me to watch. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Yes, Steve, I don't get this. I meet so many people who are not M Night Shyamalan fans. Like it's so predictable. Like okay, fine. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a neat idea. And I thought some of the cinematography was beautiful. I thought the music was fantastic. You know, there's lots of different elements for me to get into other than is it appealing to every element of my moviegoer sensibilities, right? Um, Science also still something that I can watch more than once, even though the whole premise of that film gets laid out for you the first time you see it. Yeah, I didn't think so, Steve. I know some people do, and they see patterns in the way that M Night tells stories, but it's just fun. He can scare you. He can make things slightly scary if you're willing to get into it a little bit by just using sounds. It's not what you see, it's what you don't see, and I kind of enjoyed that. So the bigger point, rather than getting too off topic into M Night films, was that yeah, Kill Switch. Hats off to you for digging into the scriptures because that's going to be an interesting thing. And as you read it, I want to make a suggestion to you. When you read something that really smacks at you as being like that's just wrong or offensive or how could God do that or allow that to happen? Because that's a thought that I've had a lot, right? Consider the character of God at the various times you beforehand, and then compare that um, compare that to what you're reading in a moment when it seems like something's unjust or unfair. because so many different things that we read about that are in there that I think turn people off to the scriptures. Like my wife and I have done this over the last few years as we read, and we really like to do the Torah portions. You know, the around the time of Jesus, or excuse me, it was quite a bit before Jesus was here. There were let's see. Let's go back to the time of Moses because I think that's more helpful. The five books of Moses, or what they typically call the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Um, the Hebrews would call them Breshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Devarim. Right? That's the Hebrew names of those books. And the more commonly known as the Torah, some would say the law, or the Greek, the Pentateuch. I have heard it from these different names. Essentially, the Torah coming from a root word that really means yara is the root word, and the yara is like to cast down in the way that rain is cast down upon the earth, and rain needs to be cast down on the earth so things can grow, right? Um, So, in that same way, Torah is instruction being cast down like rain, or teaching being cast down like rain, so that the people that receive that instruction can grow. Right? That's more of the agricultural minded meaning behind that term. You have these nomadic, well, some aforetime nomadic and later centralized people, the Hebrews, that have these collected works, and the concept behind it, the way that it functions, is the same way that rain functions when it comes down. Um, on Kikia, good morning. Texas is not death; it is incredibly hot. I think it was 100 in the evening last night. It's quite nice right now, and I'm not going to stay too long because we're going to go swimming this morning. Um, Take the kids out, get one more good swim before we head back. But at any rate, my wife and I read the Torah portions on a weekly basis, or we try to. I think we missed it honestly this week, um, and we're going to go try to go back and see what we can catch from that. But the way that the scriptures were divided in Moses' time, they would read the five books of Moses once every 7 years. They'd go through it and read it to the whole congregation, right? And as time went on, that was compacted down to like a 3.5 year cycle of working through it, and then a 3 year cycle. And I think a couple hundred years or so before Christ was on the scene, it was compacted down to like a 1 year cycle. Um, I think probably in the time of the Maccabees, right? The If you ever read the books of the Maccabees, like in the apocryphal books from the Bible, they're useful historical books. Certainly they talk about this period of time, about 150 to 200 years before the time of Christ, and there are these groups of people, these Jewish people in Judea at that time, that had a Greek vassal king pointed over them named Antiochus Epiphanes, and that guy, uh, Fred, you just hit it out. Well, good for you. We're gonna enjoy it for the last 24 hours or so here. Um, yeah, Antiochus Epiphanes had a megalomania complex. He thought he was God, in a sense, or should be worshipped like one. Um, but yeah, he wanted to have a statue of Zeus put up in the Holy of Holies of the Hebrew temple, basically where the Ark of the Covenant was kept. And he wanted to have um, a pig slaughtered on the altar of incense before the veil to lead you into the Holy of Holies. And if you have any understanding of how um, Hebrews feel about pigs, then you know how offensive that was. So this Judah guy, Judah the Maccabee, he got these people together that had gotten out of that area. They couldn't even say the name of God, Yehovah, out loud. They couldn't speak that aloud. It was considered a capital sin. To read the books of Moses was a capital sin. So they had some persecution going on at that time, and they warred back against it. They had a minority against the Greek troops, and they still took them out. I mean, they they campaigned and they were massively successful in retaking the temple. And the book of Maccabees is an interesting read. It's thick. It's kind of dry at points, but it's definitely worth digging into, just from a historical context, if nothing else. But yeah, they had, prior to that whole episode, divided the reading of the books of Moses into portions that would go over the space of a year, and then the reading the Torah was illegal, for that period of time while Antiochus Epiphanes was in power, and then they got the heck out of there, and they got the Greeks out of power in that area and retook the temple, and that's where Hanukkah comes from when they rededicated the temple. Um, they cleansed it out and rededicated all these items. So they basically weren't able to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, or what they call Sukkot, during this time. So, in a sense, they celebrated Sukkot again in rededicating that temple, and that's what they do in the wintertime when they have Hanukkah. It's basically like a celebration of the Maccabees being able to celebrate Sukkot again. Um, this feast of the dedication, that they would call it. So anyway, the feasts are always kind of interesting. All this is side peripheral stuff. Getting to the bigger point of the Torah portions. Um, I'm glad to share it, guys. This is what I love. At any rate, excuse me. My wife and I do the same track of reading through the Torah that Jesus would have done while he was here. He would go to synagogue weekly, and there would be a portion of scripture that they would work through, right? And they would also have a portion from the prophets section, the historical books and such. And that happened during the time of the um, I guess, tyranny of Antiochus Epiphanes being in power over the Maccabees. They couldn't read the Torah, so what they did was they would read a portion from the prophets and stuff that harkened back to that week's Torah portion, and that way they were still able to get the lessons they were supposed to. Um, so we try to dig into both of those when we can, and we try to make it weekly. We're not that great at it, but we're continuing working through this for a few years now. We've been trying to go at this. At any rate, um, when we're doing that, my wife will often come across a passage where it seems like God is doing something that seems really mean spirited, or seems kind of like, I don't know, not compassionate to our modern Western minds. And we're very removed from the Hebrew culture. We don't understand some of the significance of some of these things. So I try to always remind us both, because I might be tempted to think that way too. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, it seems like I was kind of a jerk here. We don't understand all the context of the culture, and we also are forgetting to keep in mind the character of God that's been revealed from the scripture previous to that, right? And it's something that I think it's important to do with people too. Sometimes we'll jump the gun and judge something someone's doing as being negative, especially someone that's close to us, a friend or family. And we forget to recall the character of that person. What is their normal way of behavior with us? If it is usually not a certain way to be negative toward us, and we assume suddenly it's negative because we're hurt or whatever it be, we make a big error in forgetting to consider the kind of person they are, because that's huge. Um, how much more should we be doing that with the creator of the universe if we have a relationship with him? And even if we don't acknowledge that kind of a relationship, if we're going to investigate the potential of a relationship with the creator of the universe, right? Look at the character of him that has been revealed thus far. And then when we come to something we're reading in that book that seems to cast an aspersion on the character of that individual, make that previous revelation of character that is clearly loving and compassionate and wanting the best for his people into the equation when you're factoring those things together. And then make your determination as you will. Let me see what was just said there, Kika. I just think that it was very different back then, and people's perception of God, I'm sure, reflect that. Yeah, I would agree 100%, Kika. I think you're right. We don't have any concept of living in an agrarian culture, um, that was much more tribally oriented, and I know we have amenities to occupy our time. We have cell phones like I'm holding in my hand to do live streams and things like that. When usually your day was pretty chock full of milking the cows and the goats and getting your food ready. It was all about surviving, right? It was all about making sure that your family could carry on to the next generation. That's all you were focused on all day, and so you're out in the creation. You're out seeing natural things. You're absolutely right. Yes, we can sit around yapping about it, and it is incredibly wonderful. That perspective shift, I think, has helped me so often when I stop and think about how many people don't have that. Even when I'm struggling, maybe one month, and I've had students maybe who decided they were going to be done with their sets of lessons earlier. I have to, have a gig that got canceled or something like this. So I'm not going to make that money that month. Like, I still have other opportunities and ways to do that. I still have ways um, to give to people and get rewarded from that, and opportunities to use my knowledge and expertise to benefit others. And there's those out there that are willing to support me to say, yeah, you deserve to be compensated for that. And so I've been given a lot of opportunities. I just have to learn how to take advantage of more of them. And once I start doing that more and more, and I've been watching it exponentially grow. The more that I begin to learn how to take advantage of things, the more I see them grow more rapidly. You know, and I've seen that in massive abundance in the last year. It's been insane, the opportunities that are in front of me now that weren't 6 months to a year ago. And I can't imagine what it'll be like at the beginning of next year. It's just staggering. I get to talk to you guys every day. I do take my weekends though, as you guys are quickly discovering. That's definitely our time. God's judgment seemed harsh then. All right, am I back? Give me a thumbs up or give me a yeah. You're back if you can hear me and see me. I was cutting out there for a minute. Oh, good deal, excellent, good deal. Thank you guys. Yeah, so I uh, I have had an interesting time down here. I was talking about before I before I got sidetracked on Kill Switch's comments, which I'm grateful for because that made for a much more interesting conversation than I'd originally thought to talk about. Um, I was mentioning before some of you got into the stream that went to see Incredibles 2 with my kids, my dad, my brother, and my wife yesterday at the theater. I haven't been to a theater movie in a long time. And I had some movie popcorn there. My brother bought like 5 boxes worth of popcorn, or at least 3 of them, and then refilled a couple of them. So yeah, between the I'm trying to think, the 8 of us, we had an awful lot of popcorn. Um, and then came home, had fajitas for dinner that my mom had prepared, and had a little bit of one of these wines that mom had along with dinner. Um, it was called Boom, I think was the name of it, and that should have been an indicator to me. It was a little drier, a little stronger than I had been accustomed to. Hadn't had much of that type of thing, and it was probably a bad time in combination with movie popcorn and fajitas. So my body said, "Forget you," and lost all of that last night before going to bed. Um, so yeah, it's been. I'll spare you the details any further. It's been an interesting week, and I almost feel like I'm going to need a vacation from my vacation, when I get back. But getting back into playing gigs, I've got a couple Aristocrats gigs coming up on Thursday and on Friday night, so I'll try to live stream those. Get some more fun jazz. Those of you that caught on it last time definitely have a good time this time as well. But yeah, we had a blast. I'll be back there with Bernie Sanders on trombone, our band leader. Um, uh, Randy Crump, great guy. Um, but yeah, I've been thinking about how you're supposed to go on a vacation. It's supposed to be like relaxing and rejuvenating. There have been a number of those moments, but there have been a number of moments as well of just like trying difficult unpleasantness which has only helped me grow. Oh, you need an image of my and stomach content removal. I would imagine you probably don't have that image, Fred. Most people do not. If you want to, you can Google. You can Google vomit. I'm sure that's okay to do on your own. I won't do that for the rest of the live stream. Probably gonna lose people real quick. Gotta love my bears. You guys crack me up. Oh, no, it's been wonderful down here. It's been great to be with family. It's been good time with them, and yeah, I'm excited to get back and get into things. I've got some plans to do different things with the stream here. I want to um, possibly take some of this inside for some of the shows, and I'll probably get better consistent signal there. Um, Probably start doing more of the shows from the phone because it seems to work pretty well. The picture's better than on my laptop. Over time, I'd like to save money and get a better set of cameras to do the show with, some good mics to do the show with, um, and have more interviews, get some interesting people to come in and join the show. But I'd like to make the content really enjoyable for everybody, even more so, and get a greater audience in here. You know, because going to be a thing, or music that I've been doing with other musicians out there. I've got a bunch of folks that would like to work with me in different places. And one, a young lady I wanted to do a project with out in LA. We want to go do that over the internet. And then Axe Bear, he's a great guy. Got to get him into these streams one of these days. You darn right, the greatest audience, Mama Bear. Yes, you guys are. You are unbearably the greatest pun, but it's just true. It's so great I can hardly bear it. Uh, I moved. Yeah, I moved from the couch over here to this storage box to see if I was closer to signal. um, but at any rate, um, yeah, I wanna see if this grows, and if you guys want to see it grow, share the link. That's the biggest you can do. Share the link with my channel. Share the channel link and get people to ask people to subscribe. With every social media friend you've got, uh, I don't know if I can come and join you for lunch today in person, Steve. Um, Again, we've got stuff during the day with the kids. It's hard to break away from four kids and a wife and everybody. Ah, darn it. Well, you know what? I should probably wrap it up anyway. Circles, or is it my Wi-Fi? It could be your Wi-Fi. That's it. No, I'm still going strong. I don't have any circle on my end. But Steve, I don't know if you have time in the evening. I would definitely probably have some time if you have time there. But again, you've got your family too, and I don't want to rob you there. If we can't make it this trip, one of these days I'll find a way to make a special trip down and we'll do it. Or who knows, maybe we can meet somewhere halfway. But one way or another, we'll get together and we'll do a stream together because I'd love to do that. That would be phenomenal. I'd love to meet up any of you bears that have streams, or just meet any that don't. Well, that stinks. I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully it records well, and when I upload it, you'll get a better shot. You'll hear everything I had to say. If not, feel free to ask me later on in the chats. Yeah, my folks have a very pretty, small but pretty backyard here. Just getting a whole panoramic view of it now since I'm moving around. But we're at about a half hour, so what I'll say is, Bears, it's always good to commune with you. It's always good to share thoughts. Drag more audience in here, and um, yeah, if you're in a place to do supporting, I've got the links for the PayPal. I've got links for my website to take lessons with me. I'd love to do video lessons with you if you're far away, or if you're relatively close to Peoria, Illinois. Maybe we can meet in person from time to time. You know, I'd love to do that because that's what I love to do: piano, drums, bass, guitar, any of those. And if you want to just learn basic music theory, how to read and write, uh, we can teach that kind of stuff. If you guys want to get a group class together, you know, and we can do that online, that's something could happen. You know, I love doing that kind of stuff. And then it's a little cheaper for folks if we do group classes. So, oh, yeah, that sounds a little ominous, Geek. No, I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. She says, you never know when I might be in Illinois visiting family. I'm like, I interpreted that a little different. Yeah, yeah, I love to do the online lessons, and I'd love to have you guys in a group session sometime or something like that. And it's not super expensive, especially if people band together. There's different ways to do things. And then yeah, I'm not a big Ben Shapiro plug every single thing out there, but I will say, um, check out a guy named Dr. German Garcia Fresco, and what he's talked about with this Neuro 67 stuff. You know, our brains have trouble working as it is. I speak mostly for myself. We could probably use all the help we can get. We try to use a good diet to keep things in shape, but there's things we probably don't even know that are good for our brain. And a neuroscientist and biochemist had developed this variety of different extracts. It's that Neuro 67 supplement. I think it's like, yeah, please. Love you, Mama Bear. See you soon. I'm just plugging now, plugging things. But yeah, if that's of interest to you or use, or to somebody you know, tell them, share the link with them. You know, just the sharing is the biggest thing. If anybody wants to do that, that's the biggest support to me. Love you guys. I will see you. I'm heading out now. So, love, peace. Talk to you all soon.